Okay, I've received a couple questions about creating error bars in Excel, so I thought I would create a short video to one, go over the basics of creating a graph in Excel, and two, to show you how to provide custom error bars for your standard bar graph. Okay, so I'll post this little Excel document to Blackboard after I finish this video, but I've got a quick kind of, in my own words, step-by-step instructions for doing this. I've also got some tips here, but I thought I'd just show you how this is done very quickly in addition to it. So let's say you want to graph an analysis that you ran, and what you did is you compared the BMI, the body mass index, between the different types of caffeine consumers. So there were three, let's say in this, and what you looked at were the BMIs of those who just consumed regular brewed coffee, those who consumed espresso drinks, and then those who just consumed soda. So just making this up here, but let's say, so those are three groups, and you ran a test in SPSS, and you should have run an ANOVA, ideally, because you have more than two groups here. So you should have already done an ANOVA, and that ANOVA would have produced a mean BMI for those who consumed brewed coffee, a mean BMI for those who consume espresso, and a mean BMI for those who consume soda. It should also tell you a standard deviation as well. So easiest way to create a graph from this and to give it error bars is to avoid, so tip right here, don't copy the raw data. Only use the mean and standard deviation. Okay, so I'm going to make up some numbers here. So you ran this analysis, and this first group, their BMI was 24.5. The next one was 26. And then the last group, soda consumers, their BMI was 29.4. So that information you have from SPSS, as well as a standard deviation. So again, I'm going to make up some numbers here. And these were, let's say, the standard deviations that SPSS provided for you. And let's do 1.5. Okay. So now this is all we need to create a very simple graph with the error bars using Excel. So what you do is you highlight your groups and the mean to create the graph. Avoid highlighting the standard deviation. Okay. So then you insert and charts, and avoid using the what's called a clustered column. Try the stacked column first. So I clicked on stacked column, and within that there are some options, but again, keep it simple, keep it pretty straightforward. And then it shows you right here, are brewed coffee, espresso, soda, and it graphed their means. But obviously there's a lot of editing that needs to be done to this this bar chart. So first thing we'll do is I'll show you how to insert error bars, because each of these have a different standard deviation, and we need that to be reflected in their error bars. So while we've got the chart selected, we go to Add Chart Elements, go to Error Bars, and you do more error bar options. And the wording of these may be different according to whether you're using a Mac version of Excel or a Windows version, or even which version of each you're using. So, but it should be relatively simple, or similar, I should say. And if not, just Google, how to create error bars in whatever version of Excel you're using. Tons of YouTube videos. Okay, so we select more error bars. It's going to put these default ones here, but those are incorrect. They're not our custom error bars. Remember, we're just showing the positive error bars, so under direction we just hit plus. You want a cap on the in style, and instead of the fixed value, so it's giving everything a 1, we don't want that, we need custom. Okay, so we select custom, and notice I'm under the error bar options here, not the paint or the effects. Okay, we specify the value, and this is going to pop up. It says custom error bars, and it says positive value, negative value. All we need to do is tell it what our positive values are, and if you mouse over here, notice it's going to wants you to select something. So you just click and drag and you select those three, and it automatically puts that information in there. So you're telling Excel, here are the standard deviations that I want to use for my error bars. You hit OK, and then you should see a little bit of adjustment. Okay, had those error bars been different, you might see more of a dramatic change. So even if you change this, let's say it's 3, 5, and 6, notice how those error bars change, okay, as well as the range on the graph. Okay, so things will adjust. Okay, so that's a really quick, simple way to input standard deviation or error bars into your graph using standard deviation. The other thing I want to say at this point, this is when you need to really do the editing of your graph, because by default Excel is not perfect and it takes a little bit of editing. So you need to add in X and Y labels. You need to make sure the range of your Y-axis is appropriate. Here it's okay, but if we went back to the values that we had, 1.2, 0.9, just making this up, 0.7. Notice the range has changed, but if you want to make sure your Y value is appropriate, if it's not, you select the Y-axis, and then it's going to ask for minimum and maximum, and you can customize it. So basically you want to avoid a lot of dead space, and if there are significant differences between your columns, then you want to make sure that those differences are reflected in an appropriate range on your Y-axis. Okay, and then there's a lot of editing you can do for the color of the graphs, adding different elements, and that usually is all found when you select the graph, chart design, add chart elements. Most of it is found here. Okay, so that's it. Short, quick video. Hope this helps.